Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is LolaAjisafe. We're going to be reviewing Love and Marriage Huntsville. This is season 3, episode 2, 47 problems, but land ain't one. Before we start, we are going to be hitting the like button, the thumbs up, that little sign here. Hit it again. No, don't hit it twice because that won't do it. So hit it one time. Drop some of the line. Hey Lola, what's up? How you doing? This is what I think. I think y'all don't agree with what you said. Okay, really? What do you think? Oh yeah, that's a good, can have a little, conversation down there. And then don't forget to subscribe so we can always keep catching up with us. And if you're really involved, then you can hit the bell. So you get notification every time I drop a video, as I'm trying to increase the number of videos I drop a week. So anyway, let's kind of go into it. So we start with the scenes running simultaneously. You have the Scots. So you have Maurice and Kimmy. And then, of course, Marceau and Tisha, or Tish, whatever. No, we call it Tisha. So running simultaneously, they're kind of talking, discussing the events of last week at the barbecue, Tisha's saying, something about abide by her expectations. I already tell you how I feel about that. If you don't know, please go back and look at that video. Yeah, I think everybody feels the same way. Marceau also mentioned that, Tisha's family was doing the most, but in this point, rightfully so. But I guess that they have to confront him on camera. But I guess that makes a reality of TV. So the brothers talking about, something about the baby, all the bloggers have been talking about. I'm not here to talk about the blogs. I'm only here to tell you what I saw on the show and what I think about what I saw on the show. I'm not trying to tell you what I think happened in real life and what they didn't film, because I'm not here to report what didn't happen in real life. I'm only here to report what they put out there. So there are the rumors out there, but then what's on the show? So they have that conversation. Tisha's talking about, well, if you did. Yeah, I know. She's just talking, or she's just running the film like she had to say something about it. I don't know. And at this point, we don't care because nothing has been confirmed yet. If it comes up, then we'll deal with it. Right now, it's mainly rumors. Of course, there's no smoke without a fire. But then again, I'm not a news reporter. I'm not an investigative reporter here to investigate them. I'm merely here to, review the show. So we're going to keep moving. So Kimmy, Maurice, they're having the same discussion, and she's kind of surprised that Tisha's expecting her to change who she is because she's dealing with her just to cover her, but didn't give her that same courtesy when she was going through these things with what's his name's ex-wife, with Maurice's ex-wife. I'm right there with you, Kimmy. I get it. So no, be who you are. You handled yourself perfectly last week, like we discussed, so don't worry about it. Let's keep moving on. Next, we have Melody and Martel. They have a scene here, and it's pretty much to show the kid exchange. So he's coming to pick up the kids from Melody. I don't know if you all noticed. Melody was dressed kind of nice. She wearing body contouring dress with some heels. I know she was heading somewhere. She looked really nice. But then, even to match up with that, the brown man, he'd been in gym, he working out, but they were color coordinated. That's how they used to dress in the past. They would pick a color and meld it. Like she was wearing a burgundy maroon color, clinging piece, and his shirt was mainly burgundy. I don't know if it was just a coincidence, but yeah, they were matching. But I mean, there was no question as to whether they had, a connection. The issue was that the connection was broken with repeated cheating and then a child. So the connection is probably still there. And then, I think, Maurice had hinted at, what might be a great thing is if they came back together. If they do come back together, it won't be the same way that they left. There'll be a completely different set of rules. If that happens, I'm not saying that's happening. I'm not even saying I want it to happen, but I'm saying, you can't, the biggest thing you can't predict, the most unpredictable thing are humans. We are the most unpredictable. I mean, we do have predictable patterns. Sometimes when we just say, F it, I'm doing it. So yeah, that's why I'm sure in the likelihood that happens, they won't get back together the way they left. They're going to be different rules, but then is he a different person? So that's a whole nother kettle of fish. So we're trying to see. Let's keep going. Anytime they get into a conversation, it's always a tip. I don't think they can have an effective conversation without a third party just kind of, hey, okay, no, you're on. Or they just go spin around in a circle, because it doesn't matter what, Melody says. Martel finds a way to spin it. Melody, whatever she says, oh, you didn't pick up the kids in 3. Well, what about you? And then we're not getting anywhere. Maybe this is what happened when they were married. So it wasn't just the cheating. That might have just pushed it over the edge, because the communication is really tough. It's hard to get a point in edgewise or to get anything across from what I'm observing when the camera's there. So anyway, she brings up, them getting some assistance with co-parenting so they can be more effective. It would be good for kids. And she says, surprisingly, he said, sure. And she was like, oh, okay. She was just throwing out there, but he agreed. She was pleased with that. Then she was like, okay, satisfied with the conversation. She got something out of it. Went to go get the kids. Her mother opened the door and said, oh, come in, come wait for them. She's like, and she's just having niceties. Talk about, I want to talk with you, but it's not a good time. You came to see the kids, da-da-da. And then the conversation goes a little bit further. He says something, and that's the thing, anytime he's told something, correct me if I'm wrong, but rarely does he acknowledge and say, I did this and I probably shouldn't have, and then stop. He always has to say, he has to point the finger the other way. But you realize when you point, there are 3 fingers pointing at you, sir, but he hasn't got that principle yet. So I think he started trying to do that with Melody's mom. She's like, okay, forget it. Don't worry about it. We won't go there. Stop. And then what does this young man do? To further emphasize his poor behavior is to, here, kids, come down. Because, grandma is, waving hands at me. Like, what? There is an immaturity to him. I don't remember how old he is, but he's not a baby, and maybe he's just lashing out. I don't know what he's doing, but it just didn't. Yeah, I guess we're all looking at him like, what? She totally wanted to, because when she saw he was going into his, Martell little zone, she's like, forget it. Don't worry. Don't say anything. We'll talk. Don't say anything. Let me let you get your kids so you can go happily. Tough to communicate with. So we have a scene with Melody and Tiffany, a new character that's been introduced in the show who does business. Is a businesswoman, also a wife, and I believe also a mother. Just some similar situation as Melody. And so the first thing they get out of the way, she's asking Melody how she's doing, with divorce and everything. Melody's, saying that her purpose, which she has been consistently saying about how she is focusing on self, relearning herself. She's been consistent. The second episode, she's still repeating the same thing. She's relearning herself. She's enjoying her space. Her friend is almost like, when they say the light at the end of the tunnel, her friend had gone through the same thing, had gone through a divorce, but was recently remarried and is happy with who she's married to. And so, Melody can look at that and say, you know what, there is light at the end of the tunnel. This doesn't mean this is the end of it. It doesn't mean I'm going to be by myself. And so it was like, kind of back and forth, because sometimes it helps when you see someone who's been where you've been. We know technically nothing new is under the sun. Everything that's happened under the sun has happened before. But sometimes when you're in the midst of it, you feel alone and like you're the only one, and but with the way, when you have someone that has a similar experience or can tell you something, you can kind of hold on to it for the second while you're feeling off kilter. Say, they've been through it, they got through it, so can I. So that's almost kind of like what the connection is. And of course, her friend Tiffany further encourages and say, yeah, like when it happened to me, she said it was rough. Divorce is easy. It isn't easy. It isn't easy at all. And I don't want to speak for everyone, but then again, I want to. I don't think anyone would take it lightly. Now, of course, that's within the confines of their emotional maturity. So within the confines of that individual's emotional maturity, I don't think anybody would take it lightly, because it really, particularly when the kids involved, it's a lot. But here it is, and I think that's a good example for those of us watching. Yeah, you, me. You can come back from this. You're not necessarily banned into the corner trying to figure things out, because you see it happens so frequently where, so in this situation with Melody, she landed on her feet. Smart woman, was working. But what about the women who go through this, who aren't working, and they are, they take care of the home, they're housewives, and they go through this. One, they haven't worked in a while, so that's rough on them. Two, we talk about finances. It's just like scrambling. And so, can get that instability. It can be a rough experience either way. Any way you look at it, it's a rough experience. But it's just my heart really goes out to women who weren't working, who were depending on this gentleman solely, and then they get destabilized by divorce. And then there's sometimes it can get real, dirty. I digress. But yeah, so anybody out there, keep your head up. This is like a little
public service announcement.
I just want to keep your head up. All right, so going on to for them, they kind of get those, that conversation up, then they go into business. And so what Melody wants to do is, get some interns to help her work. Like this lady's a businesswoman. Like she's constantly, she got that number 6, moving quick. Just love to see that. I love to see a woman doing her thing, and she's doing her thing. So anyway, she wants to get interns. They're talking about more business. She's talking about the different avenues. You want to get wealthy. You want to have multiple income streams. Some of them you want them to be passive growth. Check those boxes. She have almost all those boxes. I probably need to go read a book so I can get my stuff together. All right. So next scene, we're going to a scene with Martell and the homie Chris Fletcher, who's also the real estate person who's overseeing the deal that went off with 47 acres. And so he invites Martell over to break the news. So my girl, Melody, last week had told me, yeah, I know you guys, the developer had sent him over to talk with her about, developing some, custom homes on 47 acres. She said, yeah, it sounds interesting, but before we go any further, you know how important this is to Martell, please run it by him. So it doesn't look like he's being, run over or something. And so he finally has a talk with his friend. And the thing is with guys too, they don't think about that kind of thing because I don't think he thought about it. I don't know what he thought about, but he didn't think about it. So anyway, he breaks it down to, tells Martell about it. And of course, rightfully so, in Martell fashion, he's spazzing out like, I don't know. You call him everything short of Judas, this is that. Okay, so this is what I got from the conversation. He don't have a builder's license, but he said he was the face of the business. Melody has a business license or a builder's license. It seems like their divorce was upside down. And when I mean that, previously I talked about how a lot of time you have the woman who comes out with a lot less, like a fractured piece of fabric where the man has usually the man comes out with a lion's share, or worst case scenario half. It seems like she broke away with most of it, but that was intellectual property, not necessarily money in hand. So it just further goes to give some credibility to Destiny's statement when Destiny had called Melody the brains behind the operation last week. Give that further, credibility, because it's like, it was Holts and Holts? Yeah, so it was Holts and Holts, 2 Holts. But the way he would tell it, he was the one. Yes, she did the admin, yes, she did the paperwork, but I guess to get the builder's license, you have to take an exam, huh? She took the exam. He did. Melody, she a G. So anyway, back to my impression of that. So he don't have a builder's license. Hasn't even started trying to prepare for it. Because I don't know and he didn't think about these things as things started falling apart. He really didn't think about business or anything. But he didn't, for the time she was looking at the books and looking after everything. He didn't have to look at anything. He just had the luxury of just driving a truck and picking up, supplies and doing what needed to be done. He didn't have to do the work of the business. Melody did the work of the business, which is the most important part of the business, if you think about it. When you say anything business, it's the business you're thinking. When you talk about music business, you ain't talking about music, you talk about business. Music comes second, and here we are. Construction business first before the construction. So she knows the business of construction, hence she can do the construction, where he might just know the construction of the business, but not the business end. And if he only knows the construction end, then he's just merely a worker. He worked for her. And that's what it's looking like. Like, I say this to say, know your business. Because he probably knows he's beat. That's what happens with a breakup. A lot of times somebody ends up with more. And then so he goes on, he's upset, And I'm wondering, he's upset. Is he upset that his friend didn't approach him first? Is he upset, well, he doesn't want, his ex-wife to make any money? Like, I don't know, just seemed really upset by it. Anyway, Chris Fletcher was unapologetic, like, look, I'm here about the business. Yeah, you introduced me to the developer, but I did the work on this deal. And the developer requested something, and as the person who owns the land, I did as he requested. But I'm also calling you. And he was honest too, because he did say that Mel had told him to speak to him first. But she said, rightfully so, Mel interested, but she don't want to end his, his drama, so she sent him there. The scene just, things are become eye-opening. All right, so going to the next scene, Martell and Melody meet for the co-parenting meeting they're having with a counselor or a therapist of some sort. you know, during that time, they, you know, they have that little, you know, the one-on-one interviews. They actually had one together. You know, I guess that I feel okay. It takes both of them to want to work together. It looks like they're really working together because they had a one-on-one interview together behind the scenes. They didn't have to, but they did. So they're really trying to work as a team. So he starts talking about Mr. Francis, his old therapist, who was this old gentleman who spoke. It was, you know how people say spitting facts. He was spitting facts that you know, Martel couldn't afford to accept. He was offended by the facts. He was offended by his reflection in the mirror and didn't want to, so he wasn't ready for therapy because he didn't want to face it. He was doing therapy for the show, maybe for his image, maybe to get some sympathy. And the minute the guy really shows him his reflection, we talked about it last season. I think it was either the last 2 episodes I talked about last season. I really went into depth about how Mr. Francis broke him down. How he didn't appreciate Mr. Francis, but Mr. Francis is not here to, you know, pander to your wants and desires. He's here to help you heal if you want to heal. So anyway, he's dumped Mr. Francis because he's not ready yet. He can't bear to look at his reflection. So he's not ready. But here he's complaining about Mr. Francis, that Mr. Francis was biased. And so, you know, so how was Mr. Francis biased? Yeah, I couldn't relate with him. And why couldn't he relate with him? This is his story. He says that Mr. Francis can't relate. He can't relate with Mr. Francis because Mr. Francis is happily married. This is what I would say. Look at someone's friends, and that would tell you who they are. Look at someone's circle. That would tell you who they are, who they want to be. Martel's not, at this point, the time of filming, don't look like he's ready to grow yet. He might show some growth along the season, but he's not trying to grow. So he want to be around people who've been through what he's been through. Only. How about people who haven't? People he can learn from, people he can grow from, people who can be good examples for him. He want to be the big dog in the circle. That means he's going to be just staying in a little cave, which might explain why he's having issues now. I thought that was quite telling. And he just wanted to be around people who's doing what he's doing or worse. He don't want anyone around him who's doing better because that's going to make him think. And he doesn't want to think, unfortunately. And, you know, so, you know, Mel goes back and forth. Well, also you like the Nell, that's Chris's wife, the Fletchers. So it's Chris and Nell Fletcher, you know, when they used to cancel them because they'd had some kind of issue in the past and gotten over it. So you like that? He's like, yeah. She's like, well, it didn't work because here we are. We're done. Paper sign and everything. But in his mind, it worked. I don't know. So it was more about him feeling better about himself. And so the therapist, you know, talks with them, starts talking about, you know, what she does, how it works. And so beautifully, she asked Martel first, you know, how the kids doing? How do you think he's like, oh, they're doing great. And then Melody, being the woman, says, actually, that's not correct. She breaks down how one of them is, you know, reserved. One of them, who is 5, is writing a really sad song. The other one, the son, there's 2 girls and the son. The baby might be too young to do anything, but his son has some resentment towards the dad because he's seen what his mother's gone through. So Martel, no, they're not doing okay. So I would rather them start canceling now than when there's no such thing as too late, but when it's just way down the line when you could have prevented a lot of the pain they could have gone through. He's right. He goes on to talk about through, and, you know, they were talking about him probably not getting the kids as much. And then because she was saying how sometimes when she's trying to communicate with him when it's time for him to pick up the kids, he may not come for the kids for 2 weeks or 3 weeks when he's meant to have the kids every other week. And his explanation was like he was still kind of going through some things, and then he wasn't as financially stable. And when I heard that, that really made me like, I really began to feel sorry for him and feel really bad because Martel has defined himself by 2 main things. 1, being a good dad, and 2, being a provider. And he's kind of slipping at both right now. And as I was feeling bad, immediately, Mel started tearing up. Oh my goodness. I was like, yeah. You know, this kind of makes you see people as people. When we're people, we do things. We do bad things. We do silly things. But it doesn't mean they're bad people. Like, I have nothing, I can't, like, anything, any kind of thing I say about Martel right there, that's a human in a predicament. He's done so much, so he's gone so far gone that looking back, he don't know how to backtrack. And that's because as humans, we're not perfect. No one is born perfect. So that just kind of, that got me. And then seeing Mel felt that you feel sorry for him. You feel bad for him. He created it. He caused his two hands to do that. And he did say that, I know I made my bed, I'm lying in it, but this is what's going on. But what happens is he wasn't in that, for a second, his voice broke, he needed a second. You could see the cameras there, so he's like trying to hold it in. And then Mel, this was someone she cared for, and it didn't go away. She still cares for him, but doesn't want to deal with the palaver of the whole situation. Puts an arm on his shoulder, and he's like, stop. And I know he's probably just, I guess embarrassed. That's what it was. He was embarrassed. He was embarrassed because it wasn't just the two women in a room watching. Not only were the people filming, but he know that this is going to be carried. But I just want to let you know, Martel, I'm not a fan of yours, but I made you really look human. Make me want to wish you the best. Because you're somebody's son, somebody's dad. And I get Melody's position, because you want, no matter how he may have, he didn't kill you. He didn't harm you, didn't hit you. So you don't have a reason to hate him. So I can understand how you're sympathizing with him. I get it. Because some people say, why is she sympathizing with him? Nah, I completely get that, because truth is, that's her children's father. If he's good, the kids are good. And I don't mean financially, I mean emotionally. If he's in the right headspace, then he can be there for his kids in the right headspace. Because that was one of his things. That's one of his superpowers. He was a good dad. He was a hands-on dad. And now the fact that he's not having money, now that he's feeling all splintered and all over the place, he's not doing the things that he identified himself. That was who he identified himself as, a dad and a provider, and he's not doing that. And all because some weakness. And the person who he was with, who broke up this family, don't look like he's with her anymore. Isn't that a shame? It makes us think we really need to hold our boys, two men, accountable, and really teach them discipline, focus, dedication. Because his actions, which he regrets, have resulted in the breaking up of his family, which he regrets. Can he reverse this? I don't know. I don't know if he's in the emotional headspace to reverse it. He's still, still kind of tackling between the pain and his ego. So of course, Mel's trying to help him. He's like, leave me alone. And the therapist asked him, why are you having difficulty accepting her emotional support? For the first time, he was speechless. Anyway, after that, his ego kicked in. Martel came back. The Martel we know, the cocky Martel came back. I love the way she made her statement about, she kind of told about her example, what she went through, and how, she had a similar situation where her ex had a child that her child did not know. And so what they did was, she was in the room when the father told their son, just as emotional support. So their kids saw them as united front. Yes, they weren't together, but they're united front in terms of him. So at this point, getting divorced, you want to make sure there's a front that you're providing for the children, because they need that as part of their stability. You don't have to be buddies, but the children want to know that you both care, individually and together. I think this is a really good example, a really good way to spark off conversations for people talking. So yeah, regardless of what's happening, you want to be a team front for the children. You want to provide a team, and that's why co-parenting is so important. Something I'm tackling myself now. So yeah, I realized the importance of it. So yeah, guys, it was great. It was a great convo they had. I mean, towards the end, of course, Martel ruined it. They walk outside. He's rehashing the incident about 47 acres that Chris approached. I don't know. He's spinning. He's spinning out of control. Like, he mad. Like, I don't. And she said, look, I'm not trying to turn that deal down. I just want you to know first. That's all. I just want to know what the price. Like, she knows the business of it. She's talking about the price of net. I don't know if Martel know anything. I mean, I won't say he doesn't know anything, but he doesn't know the order of it, like how it should be done, because she was doing the business of the business, and he was just driving a construction truck, and he was the face of the business. You know what happens to the face of the business? They usually get duped, because they don't know what's going on. He don't know what's going on, so now he's spinning. Now he has to go learn what Melody been knowing. Like, she's comfortable. Like, she's years ahead because that's what she's been doing. supervising. And I think that's probably part of his pain. Because he put her in that, you know, he put her, it's like, hey, do this. They sat down. She was in that, he let her be in that position while he preferred something else. I mean, he probably rightfully knew that wasn't his strength. But now they're split up, so he's gonna have to really tackle his weaknesses. Anyway, guys, so what's gonna happen next? They're showing us some clips, you know. How are these people gonna co-parent? There's a luncheon coming up with Destiny, you know, Tiffany, Kimmy, and Melody. They're looking a little like something popped off. Somebody vaping, somebody's not vaping. This is going on. What you know about LoveandMarriage? All this is going on. So it looks like there's something coming up. Another. Anyway, guys, so let's wait and see what happens next week. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. See you next week. Lola, over and out. Thank you.